Hello friends, I am back and this is not a filter. I have red hair again. I'm so excited to show you my new do, and I'm even more excited to hop in to this conversation with you so we can steer this struggle bus that I know a lot of us can fall into. So today we're going to be talking about how to fight clean and if fighting can be a good thing. So, can fighting in a relationship have its merits? Well, let me share with you a story of a foolish relationship that I entered into when I was 19. But at this point, I was friends with my current husband. And one day I was talking about, my relationship with this man. And I was saying, oh, how wonderful it was that we never, ever fought. Because I genuinely thought that that was a good thing. I mean, if you looked at our relationship and each of us on paper, we were very different with our values, our morals, literally everything about us, including our age. He was in his early 30s. Not the best situation. Wouldn't really recommend it, especially if you're somebody who is sheltered. Most likely, most situations, it's not going to be a good situation for you. So I was telling my now husband this, and he goes, "Why aren't you fighting?" So I told him about different things where I thought we would end up being fighting or something like that, but we never did. It was so great. And he goes, "I hate to tell you this, but oftentimes guys like that don't fight with you because of the fact that they're not invested enough into the relationship." And it just fell on me like a ton of bricks. Okay, that's red flag number 2023. And I started examining things more closely. And a mutual friend of ours at the time was a PI. And unbeknownst to me, he looked into the situation. And the reason why this man that I was believed to be in a relationship with wasn't fighting with me was because of the fact that he had a family. And he was putting me in the situation of being an accidental homewrecker, which I never, ever, ever would do willingly. And so it was very difficult for me because that went against everything I believed in. That went against, the sanctity of marriage itself. Because I had no idea. I was so sheltered at that point that I genuinely thought that he was this exciting, super cool guy, inviting me on dates to, New York, inviting me on dates to Canada, talking about him wanting to take me to Iceland and all of these other cool places. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Thinking that I had lucked out and gotten some really cool travel dude because he was, a hipster. But there were so many red flags that I just kept choosing to ignore them. And the one where we never fought was the one that woke me up.
Princess Anna?
Yeah?
Oh, sorry to wake you, ma'am.
No, you didn't. I've been up for hours.
Now, I'm not saying that if you're married and you're in a healthy marriage and things are great and you never fight, that it's a bad thing. I'm truly not. But fighting happens when you put two individuals into a relationship who are both imperfect. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship. We just make steps every single day to make our relationship work for us and for the person that we love. And so with that, I want to be open and honest with you and let you know that I used to fight dirty. I could be quite unpleasant. And the fact that my husband and I have been able to grow together and move past that is something that I'm really proud of when it comes to my personal development. But I'm not just sharing this with you because of the fact that it's something I'm proud of. I'm sharing this with you because of the fact that if you fight dirty, A, you don't have to be ashamed, and B, we can fix this together. You and I, right now, can talk about some strategies that will work to fix this situation. Let's talk about how to fight respectfully so that we can be truly loving and honoring and respectful with everything that we do, especially in our relationships, and especially in showing that love and devotion that we promised on our wedding day to our husbands.
I guess I kind of hate most things, but I never really seem to hate you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Is that cool?
So the first step is to be curious about ongoing fights. I want you to dig deep on that. I want you to really look at the current circumstances of your relationship. Be curious about that aspect and see what you're really fighting about. Because I know oftentimes, especially when fighting, in my relationship with my now husband, it was messy and it tended to be about like the same 3 things, but it was never really about some of those things. It was about deeper inherent work that we both needed to do. And thankfully we stood by each other and worked with each other and helped each other to do that work so that we could be where we are now. And so be curious about that. And when you're fighting about something, look at, is this what you're really fighting about? Because there's a strong chance it's not. There's a strong chance that you're nitpicking about something because something else is truly bothering you, and you need to honor that within you respectfully. How do you go about doing that when you find that issue? Well, you set aside time to resolve the conflict. When you're fighting, it's only going to get worse if you try to bring it up, when he just came home from work and he had a rough day and it was all crazy and stressful, and the kids are like asking their dad about the homework and like all of this stuff. It's not a good time. Finding a good time and setting that time aside to talk about this will really, really help, because communication is a cornerstone of a solid, healthy relationship. And then now that you know where you're coming from, it's time to table that. Table that for a minute. Even though it's important to you, even though it's valid, because that's what you're experiencing, you need to table that and be open-minded and open-hearted to what your spouse is telling you. What is his view of matters? How does he feel about the circumstances or the situation that led to this being a thing that happened? Patiently uncover that. Listen to resolve. Listen to find the issue so you can solve it, so you can resolve that tender point in your relationship. Once you've given them a chance to speak and you've been able to meditate, on what's going on in their mind and in their heart and in their life, find out where you're both coming from, and then respectfully honor your feelings and share them in a respectful way with your significant other. Now, an important aspect of this that really helped me and my husband when we were first dating and we would have some nasty fights is to call a time out. Don't be afraid to pause the fight.
Can you promise me that that's not going to happen?
Pause.
No, Lily, we cannot pause this anymore. Can you promise me that that's not going to happen?
Pause.
Why do you want me to
No,
pause?
I'm not talking about pausing it forever and going on blissfully, ignoring the situation. I'm talking about if you or your partner feel like they're entering fight, flight, or freeze, they're feeling overwhelmed or feeling particularly defensive, and the fight's starting to get messy, well, neither of you want that. It's only going to keep going and rolling into a bigger and bigger problem if you don't stop it. So, call a timeout, or have a certain word one of you says, when you just need a moment. Now, if you find yourself fighting about the same thing or a similar issue around a certain time of day, then respectfully ask your significant other what they need at that time. I know sometimes when I get hangry, I'm not particularly the nicest. When it comes to that, we've, decided not to talk about really important issues when we're both hungry, so that we don't accidentally give off those cranky or rude vibes that the other one doesn't deserve. Things like that, finding out, what's the pattern of the fight, and looking deeper into that to answer what is the need that needs to be met during that time in order for that not to happen as much. And this will really minimize the amount of fights that you have. Another really crucial point that has been really helpful, and I've taught this to many wives, I've even taught this to some of my nanny kids when they've had, a whole mess of siblings that I was also caring for, and they were fighting. Ask for what you need. Honor that boundary. Honor that standard. Ask for what you need and do so respectfully. Don't come at the other person by saying they always do XYZ or they never do ABC, because that is just asking for more of a fight. And if you're really truly communicating to resolve this, then it's doing the opposite of what you want it to do. I know that's hard, especially when you're caught up in emotion, which is why it's important to de-escalate the situation within your own body. You need to make sure that you're taking some deep cleansing breaths. You need to make sure that you're not going head on at this fight when you're not all there emotionally, so that you can truly resolve it. Sometimes the healthiest and easiest solution is just a compromise. What is a compromise that you see logistically fits both his needs and your needs? How can you apply that? Resolve the issue in your relationship. Remember, you are working to fix the issue. So don't escalate the situation by name calling, or, to steal a line from Miss Taylor Swift, being casually cruel in the name of being honest. And there's a common, I don't know if it's like an old wives' tale or a cliche or what exactly it would fit into, but when it comes to going to bed angry, it applies. Like, it's helpful to be able to start the next day fresh and still be on the same team and have resolved that nastiness before you go to bed. But there are large problems that we can face together in our relationships. So what do we do when that happens? Well, I find it helpful to look for a natural stopping point that both of you can agree on. This is why it's truly crucial to view each other as partners. So you're standing side by side, facing the problem and fighting the issue, and working together to do so, not fighting each other. These tips have been really helpful to totally change the way that I fight. Because when you're really, really young, you can be petty, especially when you're used to somewhat getting your way or being your own independent person if you were an only child. So I hope these really genuinely help you. I know they've made a big difference in my life. Please share any fighting tips down below, or tell me the silliest fight you've ever been in, because I know that I'm not alone when I've had some nonsensical fights with my partner. Love to hear yours. You'd be so kind. Talk to you in the comments. And don't forget to tune in next week. Love you. Bye.